Alright, this is the Brunswick detector. This is the brain of the Brunswick pin setter. Tells the machine whether you have standing pin, strike cycle, out of range, whatever. It can think for itself. This is a Brunswick detector that was perfectly good on the pin setter, but I decided to take it apart. So now, after a little bath in a carburetor cleaner, everything's nice and shiny, kinda. I didn't want to mess up the case and mess up the original green Otis paint on there, but everything got a good cleaning. And now comes the part of reassembly. Let the fun begin. There's before, after it blows up. And hopefully we're gonna get back to before by the time this is done, have it running this weekend. All right. I got everything in place, got all my parts nice and clean and shiny. I just got to grease everything up as I put them together. Let's start reassembly. If you think they're going to be moving, put a little grease on them. Putting some grease inside all the brass bushings here. Make sure they don't go together dry. Some of the shafts here, they're going to have stuff on them. I'm going to go ahead and grease those up a little bit. Don't want to be too much grease because you don't want a bunch of grease in there that's going to pack up a bunch of dirt and gum up your detector over time. This is your detector rod right here. This is what tells the detector whether you get a strike, out of range, or standing pin cycle just by this guy. There's different indentations in here or which one is going to pick up, and it's pretty unique. But this is the brain power rod, I don't know what you want to call it, but this is what tells the detector what to do. This is the main drive gear. These are all the different cams that do like scissors and whatever else. But I'm going to get some grease in on this too before I put it in. You can also go back and drip some oil down in there once you get it going again. But like in the, what I'm doing is I'm putting a little, like where the little indentations are here, put a little bit of grease in there because there's definitely going to be a link going in and out of that, and you don't want it to wear out the groove any. Just a little bit there. First off, we need to get this guy back down in here, which is, oops, that linkage here. I'm going to probably wait till I get everything back together and I'll drip some oil down in there. But I'm going to go ahead and grease up the shaft portion. Okay, next I'm going to put these in. I'm going to kind of put them in together. This guy kind of rides in here. He's got to slide in on here about the same time the gear goes in. This guy right here's got to go on the bottom side of this cam right here. Put this guy underneath it, this guy over. And drop it in the hole. There we go. Now I rotated the cam down here a little bit so this can drop down all the way on there. So now that's in position. This has just got to go down a little bit lower. There we go. Got that in place. Right there. You just barely have a gap there. Like I say, the shaft can push down in the hole, but when you put the plate back on the top, it'll pull it up where it needs to be. But right now, with it flush on the bottom, I just barely got a gap in there, which is correct. You got this guy here and this guy here. You want to make sure you have one of your bushings in here. They go together like that. So I'm going to put this guy in here. Okay, on this shaft right here, you want to locate this piece. That's your second ball selector when you go into second ball. The one on the newer detectors is more like a C, kind of like this right here, which I hate. This is a lot easier when you're putting a machine in the second ball, but this piece and this piece, notice they line up right there. There'll be a spring in the middle holding them together. These are your next two pieces. That one and this guy. It's got the spring spot on there and this little groove on here. So locate these two pieces, and those will be our next two to reassemble. Okay, make sure you get one of the washers on here before we put that on. Okay, get this bottom arm on here. First we got the arm on here. This arm, put one of your spacer bushings here. A little bit of grease on the back side. Put this guy on. Then assemble this guy. I keep getting ahead of myself. Put it over here like that. Bring it down like that. So basically you're going 1, 2, 3, then 4. In that order. There we go. Springs on, got these guys on. Okay, the next step, we have these three pieces right here. Locate those. This is the foul linkage, which is why I took the detector apart. Rod J and I have been working on this for a while now, and when you was originally patented on this aft arm of the detector, if you ever wondered what it was supposed to be for, that was supposed to be the foul linkage. So whenever you got a foul, it would pull this linkage up here and cause the machine to go down on first ball like normal, but the scissors would not operate. It blocks the scissors, deck comes up, sweeps everything off, then it goes to a new pin cycle, sets everything down, and goes to second ball. It was pretty cool, but they never implemented it. I don't know why. Maybe they thought there'd be too many issues wearing out the detector. I don't know what, but so we're going to try to get it working, which is why I took this apart, because the linkage on mine, when we tried doing it, I'd pull up on mine, I could get it to do that, but then it wouldn't go back down and the machine would be stuck in second ball. So I'd have to forcibly come in and push this guy back down, and then it would go back to first ball cycle. Otherwise, the machine would be stuck on second ball permanently. So we thought maybe, which is why I took the detector apart, cleaning up the detector, freeing the movement up of these guys might fix that issue. So that's why I took the detector apart. Plus, it's kind of fun to do. I like doing stuff like that. So first off, got our bushing on here that I put a little grease on it. Here's the first piece to go on, just like that. Got the two notches on the left and this one on the right. Put it on just like that. Second, we got this guy right here. Gonna put that guy on just like that. So they kind of bump each other over here. Third is this guy goes on right here, slips on right there. See how easy moving that is? It was not doing that before. I took a file to the shaft right here and cleaned it up a little bit because it seemed like there were some burrs on it or something. But that's how these three guys go on there. You got the hook here, got the little piece on the bottom sticking through the middle, and then you got the hook on the top right there. All right, this guy here, if you had that out, so I put everything in carb cleaner, cleaned it all up real nice. Looks real shiny. I put a little grease in the middle. I'll drop some oil down there once we get it going. I put a little grease on the shaft. I've already greased up the bushing. But this is going to go in carefully. I don't want to disrupt what I've done. But I've got this hole right here. That goes in there. Got that in there. I've also got this one to put on. This goes down here in the bottom. This is also the one that has your 1-2 ball selector on it on the other side where it pops through the top of the detector. I'm going to go ahead and slide this guy on here. I'm going to lift the whole thing up and slide it on that way. Should go between this arm and the shaft right here. That's where the detector rod should go. I'll clean some of the extra grease off of there. Okay, the next piece to go on It'll be this guy here. Locate that in your parts. Put a little grease in here on the bushings. It's going to go in this shorter shaft over here at the bottom. What I've done, I've already put this in the hole here. This shorter one that's got the spring pieces on the back. I'm going to have to pull that back off because this has got to go in first and then this slides up through there. Otherwise you can't get this one on here. So I'm going to pull this guy out of here. This one right here. Put this guy in here in place. Make sure you put the arm right here underneath that when you go in there, between the gear and the arm. Set it right in there like that. Then slide this guy back up in the hole. There we go. There we are. Got that in place. Okay, next on the assembly, after we get this guy in here, we need to locate this one. Put a little grease inside of it. This is going to slip down on the shorter shaft over here and go between that and this guy that we're getting ready to put on next. But I'm going to go and put this one on. Put him like that. And you're going to want to make sure it's got the little spring hole for the spring sticking up this way. And it's got the little blocking arm over here on the left. So you see this is the right orientation. Slip it on there. Extra grease. Okay, the next to go on are these two arms right here. This one that's got the 90-degree over travel hooked onto it, you don't have that on A2s. The Model A's have them though. That's another video for another day. When this arm goes on, it's going to go in between, this one we just put on, it's going to go in between that. So you want to orient that with like this, slip it down, and when this goes on, that arm's going to go in between those two. The tricky part is here, this shaft has got to go through this hole right here, which seems pretty easy, but you got to have this spring in there. So I'm going to have to put this one on here first. And they've got a hole here for a roll pin that goes through there. Same with this one when it goes on here, so that way they're locked in place. I'm going to go and put that one on here. The tricky part is compressing the spring and getting that shaft to go through the hole. Come on, dang it. Come on, there we go. Lower it down. Stay compressed, please. There we go. Okay. There we go. Push it down until you get this roller to line up with this cam right here. Like it is. This will line up here. This blocking finger's in its way. Otherwise, this would ride right on that cam right there. I got the shaft on the other end. Not in all the way. I'm going to go ahead and tap that through. There we go. And there we have it. Pretty much we got everything put back together here. We just got to line this roll pin up here on the shaft. Same with this one here. Knock those in. And then we'll be about ready to put the top plate on, put all our springs on, and we'll be ready to go back in. So it's a lot to it, but I'm learning to in the correct order here. Okay, let's see. Set the holes right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this roll pin in here, make sure I got the right one. That's actually a longer one. That should go in there, I believe. That one looks correct here. Go ahead and lock this in place. There we go. Okay, had it in too far, So now I got it where it needs to be. There we go. Stick that in there. Probably shouldn't have that 90-degree over travel link on there yet. It's kind of in the way. Okay. Got the roll pin in. Got everything else on here. Pull this back down. I think we are ready to put the case on and get this detector back on. Okay, again, a little bit of grease inside here for the brass bushings. A little bit on the inside here. This is where the 1-2 ball selector and the strike plate actuator arm will mount. And this pin here, this is what actually does the mercury switch on the strike. I've got the other one over here, but this actually, the mercury switch rests on this whenever this drops on a strike cycle and the latch is undone, the mercury switch drops, strike indicator comes on. A lot of people don't use those anymore. I wish they did. They're just kind of cool, novel things. But let me see here before I do this. You got one arm right here. Let's see here. There we go. Almost. Got to line up the two shafts. And then the bearing on the main case. So a little bit on. There it goes. My dead blow here. Got this shaft and this shaft lined up, so the bearing here is lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and put on this bolt, which doesn't affect the strike indicator yet. I got to go get that to put on the other pieces. They don't line up, so it's off. Just there we go. Just a hair. Got this. Got this guy here. This guy goes up here. We're going to tighten these down gently to make everything go back together. Okay, this is my strike plate. This is an add-on. This is something we're doing for my scoring system. It's an experimental system. This is the strike plate. This arm here is what rides under the mercury switch. I'm going to set that in place right there. I'll go ahead and put that back on later. At least I'm just going to tighten up. Go ahead and tap this in the middle. Seat that bearing right. Tighten that down. And give another. There we go. That bearing should be pretty well flush with the cover. You don't want it bowed up in the middle. There we go. All right, let's make sure we get all of our springs back on here that are supposed to be here. I'm using my other detector here just to make sure I don't miss any. I've got this guy. Goes across the top here. One there. I got a smaller one that goes in between down here. This one right here goes from right here in the stud at the top and comes down to the pin that sticks through on this little selector arm right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it through, put it on that pin right there. There's a pin sticking out of the case up here on the top. goes on there. This spring right here with the long shaft on it is right here on the inside. There's a spring retainer right there, a little stud right there. You're going to put the long part toward the top and the spring end portion down here on that stud right there. It's got to go out through the top. Get it on there. Spring through there. Got that one on. Now we've also got this one that goes to there and attaches up on. Okay, we got another spring here. This pin that controls the strike indicator, there's a nut and a washer there. This is going to go around where that washer is on the outside, then attach to this silver guy right here. Try and do this one-handed. Let me flip it around. There we go. That on there. Get it into it. There we go. Got that one in there. So it goes from where the base of that pin is for the strike indicator up to this guy. And the last spring we have right here goes between these two guys. Actually, I'm gonna have to. There we go. There. And get on there. All right, we got that spring on there, this spring on here. All right, and then the last thing you're gonna have to do is these are for your strike indicator and your 1-2 ball lights. Go ahead and put these on here. Tighten them up later once you get them on and you know where to adjust them. This one here controls the strike plate right there. So I can pretty much set that one. It's gonna be about that area, but I can fine tune that once I get on there. And then this is for the 1-2 ball light. Again, fine tune that once you get it on the machine. And then I got one more pin and X washer to locate on. Oh, I know where that is. There's this link that comes off right here. It's got the pin in here that we put the spring on. The other end goes to this guy right here. So I'm going to get that in and then we're going to be done and ready to put it back on. Okay, got the X washer back on that link right here. Got all our bolts on, they're all tight. Got the 90-degree over travel to hook up when I put the detector back on. And other than that, we're ready for reassembly. And before you put it in, turn the main gear in here. Make sure everything turns freely. Move all your levers. Make sure everything seems to have free movement, that anything didn't get put in bound up. But just make sure it all moves. Turn the gear about a quarter turn, half turn, whatever you can do. Just make sure everything seems normal. Time to put it back in.